Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking you through some of my favourite fantasy series of all time. Now I think this is one of my most requested videos to chat through my favourite books, and I put off doing it because I find it hard to narrow down a list and actually think about which ones are my favourite books of all time. So there are a few prefaces to this. So for a book to have made it onto this list, these are all series. I have two videos already on my favourite standalones. I have a favourite fantasy standalones of all time and a favourite non-fantasy standalones. So I will link both those videos. And so standalones are in there, unless I've read them in the past 6 months because I filmed those in January. So they are there. And this is series. And for the series to be here, I need to have read at least 2 books in the series. So if I've just read the first book, it can't fit, because I feel like although I may absolutely love that book, it is hard to say something the favourite series if I've only read one book in a series. That's just a favourite book. I think for the majority of these, they're either completed series or I've read everything up to date with them. So there are some favourite books on here that are not on this list. So The Way of Kings is not on this list because I've only read the first book in the Stormlight Archive, so it can't fit. I've just read The Forgetting Moon by Bryony Durfee. That's a favourite book, but it doesn't fit the criteria because I haven't read the rest of the series yet. Potentially, in a year's time, if I redo this, those books could make it onto my favourite fantasy series of all time lists, because I might by then have read more of those books, more of those series. So that is my little preface of how I've narrowed down this list to create my favourite series of all time. As for the order of these books, there isn't really an order apart from the top 2. So a lot of these I love equally, but the top 2 are the top 2. I haven't figured out which one's the top one. It's not possible. The top 2, there's there's the top 2, but the rest of these are below that. So I will work my way up to those top 2. Where to start? Where do I start with these? So although I've said that The Way of Kings and the Stormlight Archive is not on this list, Brandon Sanderson has made it. He's made it with the Mistborn Trilogy. So I love this series. I have read this series twice now. I think a lot of us know what this series is about by now. It is quite a well-known epic fantasy series. I read this back in 2015 and then I reread it over the past year, and it definitely lived up. It's a thoroughly good epic fantasy series with Vin and Ellen. The first book starts off with a heist. The evil ruler had won, and he'd ruled for many years as this evil ruler, and then you were following this ragtag group of people as they try to remove him from power. And there's magic, which involves metals and the digestion of metals, and different metals give the user different powers depending on some people can use them, some people can't. But this is just one of the, it's not the first epic fantasy series that I read, because I'd read Game of Thrones before this. I'd read other things before this, but I thoroughly enjoy Brandon Sanderson's writing and his world, and so here he is. Potentially this will get surpassed by the Stormlight Archive, but I cannot confirm because I've got many pages to read in the Stormlight Archive first. We have The Bear and the Nightingale trilogy by Catherine Arden. I've read this a few years ago now, and it's just, I know some people hate this word, but it is very atmospheric. And I think this series as a whole is a slow burn favourite. You don't realise that it's a favourite until suddenly it's a favourite and you love it with your whole being. So I liked this first book, I really liked it, but it's the second and third book for me that just cemented this series and made me realise how much I like it. And even now, reflecting back, I read these a little while ago, and I reflect back and I think about how much fun I had whilst reading this series, and how much I enjoyed it, and how much I liked the characters, and how much I liked the growth and where this went. And this is set in a Russian-inspired fantasy world. It's very folktale-esque with different stories interspersed, and you're following this girl Vasya as she grows up. So the first book she's quite young, and then she grows as the series goes. So you follow her from her childhood and in this world. It's the impact of religion on this Russian village, and how it goes from believing in the old gods and these spirits that helped them to the confrontation of Christianity arriving, how people's shift in belief shifts the power dynamic between the religions. And it's just so wintry, and the characters, and I would strongly recommend it. I think it's best to read in like autumn and winter, I would say, when it's cold. Like it really does give off those cold vibes, but this, love it. One of my latest favourites that has made this list is the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee, this being Jade War. I read this back in July and loved it. I really enjoyed this second instalment in the Greenbone Saga, and it's made its way onto the list. So the first one being Jade City. Jade City I really liked, but Jade War has like cemented it here. And I'm really excited to see how this series concludes in Jade Legacy, which is coming out at the end of this year. But just this series, I mean, it's a weird one, because it's a weird one for me to try and describe like why I like this series so much. And I'm like, why do I like this series? Like, why do I like it? And I'm like, I don't really know why I like it so much, but I do. And I think, I mean, it has the things I really like. I really like multiple perspectives. It has that. I really enjoy like the magic system with the jade and the setting. I really like the world building. But I really do think it's the characters. I really think it's the characters in this world that I am drawn to, and I really like exploring them. I think they're all very complex and they're all very different. So you're following this family of this No Peak clan, and it's very Mafia Godfather-esque setting, and so it's seeing how they deal with the tensions within Kakon, the island that they're in, and the mounting tensions between the No Peak clan and the Mountain clan. And I just thoroughly enjoy it, and I thoroughly enjoy seeing how the different characters react to what's going on around them, and you see how the whole family and the way that they see situations and the way that they deal with them. And I just feel like it's a fantasy, but you can get so much from it, and you can get so much from these characters and how they act. Like Shay, one of the characters, I'm like, I want to be Shay. She has so much agency and power, and I'm like, yes, Shay, yes. And the same with Wen in this. Like, she really grows in this book, and I loved her as a character. And so yeah, I just can't wait to see where it goes. Like, where things happen. The world is definitely like expanded. Like, I just want to see what's going to happen. Would definitely, I mean, I recommend all of these because these are my favourite books. So I would definitely recommend. Well, yeah, duh. Next, I have Foundry Side and this the Founders Trilogy by Robert Jackson Bennett. Obviously, only the first two are out, and I'm anticipating the third book. But overall, a lot of these, it's authors as a whole that are favourites. So Robert Jackson Bennett, because I thoroughly enjoyed this, as well as the Divine Cities series by him. Like everything that I read by him, I have thoroughly enjoyed. I think he's a fantastic author as a whole. But I think the Founders Trilogy beats out the Divine Cities trilogy. I think I can see this is a much newer publication by him, so I can see how he's grown as an author between then and now. But I think they're both very solid series, and I strongly recommend both. This has just got, am I a character driven reader? Maybe I am, because in all of these I'm like, it's the characters. Okay, I've come to a realization here. But again, it's the characters. So it's the characters in this like ragtag group. Maybe it's ragtag groups I like, but like this ragtag group of people in this world. It's got a really interesting magic system where objects, you can like put different codes into. It's like real world coding. You code these objects to believe something different from their reality. It's called scribing. You put that onto a wheel, and it will believe that it's going downhill, even if it's not going downhill. And I find that really interesting. It's definitely explored and expanded upon within this series. There's a talking key in this called Clef, and he's just fantastic. Like a fantastic, it's weird to call him a he. They are just absolutely fantastic, like fantastic. And so once again, like with the Greenbone Saga, I'm very excited to see where this goes. But judging on the first two books, I have high hopes for the third one, and so it's made its place into the favourites. As well, you can probably tell that for the majority of these, they are all multiple perspective stories, because I like multiple perspective stories. I think multiple perspective stories are the ones that definitely give it a chance of being a win for me. Next, I have very pretty book, but it's very pretty inside and out, and that is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. And once again, this is one that I've read quite a few years ago now, but it has stuck with me. And this, I mean, I'd love to reread it actually, because I thoroughly enjoyed it. But this is, you're following a main character, Strange, who is a dreamer, and all his life he has been fascinated by the magical city of Weep. He studies its history, its language, its everything that goes on about it. It's a lost city that nobody knows about anymore, and he is trying to find everything he can about it until one day a group of people, warriors, arrive where he lives, and they say that they're from Weep and they need people to come back with them to help save their city. And he's like, oh wow. Oh, so, and then you go from there. This is multiple perspective again, but the second perspective is sort of spoilery for where things go. But I really click with Laini Taylor's writing style. Like, it's flowery. I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it, but I really click with it. I'd say there are certain authors that have this writing style that I really click with, like Laini Taylor, like Erin Morgenstern, who aren't going to work for everyone, but they really work for me. You may or may not like this writing style, but I definitely do, and it means I can overlook some flaws within this, like, because I'm on for the ride. Like, I'm there, I'm going, and I just want more. So I thoroughly enjoyed this. I thoroughly enjoyed her other trilogy, The Daughter of Smoke and Bone, which I read even more years ago. But and it's been a while. Like, Laini Taylor, where have you been? Give me more books, please. Yeah, I just thoroughly enjoyed this duology. And yeah, once again, characters, because Laszlo Strange, he's such a little cinnamon roll and he's protecting at all costs. So the one non-adult book on this list, at first I thought about doing like an adult and a YA list, and then I thought actually it's just all this one. So I have one YA series here, which definitely leans older. So it's an older YA series, and I think this series is one that I've read for many years. It's one of the series that really got me back into reading. I mean, I've always read. I never really had a break from reading, but it was like one of the first ones that I read, I guess 2014, and I was like, I really love reading. And it just was, it's been a big series for me, and that is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J Maas. I have loved everything that I've read by Sarah J Maas. I found it a little bit hard to pick which series to put on here, whether I picked Throne of Glass or the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. Crescent City I can put on because there's only one book, and so it doesn't count yet. Potentially it could later on because that is her adult release, but I've gone with Throne of Glass just because of the memories that I have with this series and with this world. And I think, although I really like the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, it does lean a lot more on the romance, whereas Throne of Glass is much more 50-50 between, or it leans more fantasy, I'd say, than romance, and that's what I enjoy. And so I have thoroughly enjoyed reading Sarah J Maas's books, and particularly the Throne of Glass series, and I owe a lot to it. As I said, I've been reading this series for many years, and I've literally read everyone as and when they're released. From, I think, when I started, only the first 2 books were out, so I've been on a journey. It's been many years in the making for when I mean, this came out a couple of years ago now. This came out in 2018. Wow, that was a few years ago. If you're after like an expansive YA series that definitely leans older as the series goes on, I'd say it starts YA and then becomes more new adult, then I would recommend this, and it is a lot of fun. I really like the way she has these twists. There will be twists in her books and I don't see them coming. I think they're well written. I enjoy them. They're different to some of the other books that I have on this list, but I thoroughly enjoy Sarah J Maas's books. Okay, and we're on to the top 2. So these are the 2 favourites of the favourite. I wonder if you can guess them. If you can guess what they might be, let me know if you've guessed what these 2 series are. Might be like, it's probably like a gaping hole. You can probably like see it, like if you watch any of my videos you probably know which ones these are. But I don't really know which one to talk about first. Over the last year I have read all of John Gwynn's books, and The Faith and the Fallen is now one of my favourite series of all time. I had owned this book for many years before I read it. Many years. And then I read it last summer and I loved it. I will say, for me, this is the weakest book in the series, but it is also one that has I do have a lot of sentimental attachment to it. But the whole series of the original 4 in the Faithful and the Fallen, like, they're all amazing. They're all pretty much 5 stars for me. I love them, love them, love them. And I would strongly recommend this epic fantasy series, which is good versus evil, with prophecies and like the farm boy trope and just so many tropes, but they're all subverted. And it's just the found family and once again, the characters. The characters, I just absolutely love them. I just would want to meet them. I just want to be with them. Like, I don't know if I necessarily want to be in this world, because it's not the happiest of places to be, and I feel like I might die. I feel like John Gwyn would just kill my officer if I was there. I'd be like, oh, she's a failure, off she goes dead. But I love this. I love this, I love this, I love it. And since reading this series, I have then read the spin-off, or like the continuation trilogy of Blood and Bone. Loved it as well. I've read The Shadow of the Gods, and I just cannot wait for more John Gwyn books. I cannot wait. I need more. I need all of them. Everything that he writes, I will read it. And it's just epic and grand and multiple perspectives again. Like, I just love it. I love it. Okay, and then the final series, this one is tied with Malice as like the top tier, and that is the City of Brass, or the David Bad Trilogy by S.A. Chakraborty. And I love this series. I love this series. I have read this series 3 times now, and I will probably keep reading it for many, many years to come. I just love it that much. And the City of Brass, I can see it has its faults, but the second and third book have 0 faults. They are perfection. They are pure perfection in a book. Like these, I mean, all of these books, but I really felt it whilst reading these books. They just remind me why I love reading so much. Like reading these books, it's hard to call them comfort reads because they're not like the happiest of books, but they bring me so much joy. Like I get so much comfort and joy out of reading these books, about reading about these characters, about this world and mythology. Like it just makes me happy. And I'll be reading these books and it's like, I never want the books to end. I never want the books to end because they are so good and they just make me realise how much I love reading. But then you don't want to ever stop reading. Like you have to know what's going to happen next because there's so much going on and you just have to know what's going to happen. But you also never want it to end because once you finish, it's over. If you want that feeling, then I would recommend reading these books. I just love these books so much. So much. It's a multiple perspective story again, following Nari, Dara and Ali, and the magical city of Daevabad and the mythology. It's a Middle Eastern setting, and I love the mythology in this. It's not one that I knew too much about before diving into this series, and it makes me just want to explore more and more Middle Eastern inspired fantasy stories, or stories as a whole. And I need more S.A. Chakraborty. I need it. I actually, for both of these books, I have videos up on them. I have a full review of the David Bad Trilogy, and I also have a guide to John Gwyn on where to start with his books, which I can link, which is basically just me gushing about these as my favourite books of all time because they are amazing. So yeah, if you're going to take away anything, these two, like, these are the favourites. And the thing is, I was making the list and I was like, it's these two. Like, these are the 2 favourites. Like, it's hard for other books to compare to these. Like, obviously, I've talked about all those other books, which are all really books that I absolutely love. But I think it's hard now for books to surpass these because I love them so much. So much. I would strongly recommend these 2 books. I mean, I've talked about them all year. I've talked about them ever since starting my channel. But if I haven't persuaded you already, or if this is my first video that you're watching, then please read these books because they bring me so much joy. And I think for the majority of people that I've recommended these to, they have loved them too. That there hasn't been that many people that haven't enjoyed them. So I think there's a good track record with them. Like, I think in theory that these should be loved. In theory. But I would strongly recommend both of these. And just the thought of those books, I think I could literally, can I just like hug them these are the sort of books that I hug after finishing them. I don't know if other people do that, but like, you know, when you finish a book and you're just like so satisfied that you just hug them and you're like, this book brought me so much joy. You just want to like hug it and like shout about it, and just the thought of the book afterwards just brings a smile to your face, even though it might not necessarily be very happy. Like, there's deaths, there's horrific situations that happen in these worlds, but like the overall thought, the overall like feelings that I get about these books, and like my reflection on my reading time of these books, they bring me so much joy, and I just want everyone to read them. Like, I really do. I really do. Hopefully I have persuaded you to pick up one or more of these books. So I think I've talked about them all quite a lot already, but hopefully you'll love these books as much as I do. I'm very sorry if you don't love them as much as me, but I really hope that you do. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye!